Okay. Everybody, hi. I am Nu-Trix, the synth guy, and today I'm talking about synthesis, more specifically modulation. I'm going to start another, I did that already in, I don't know, a couple of years ago. I'll do another series of video on how to make sound, Synthesis 101 if you want. This time I'm going to do it using the Minifreak because this thing does almost all the different synthesis. So it's going to be an easy way to go through all that exist over time, historically, and where it fits today. But the first one I do today is about modulation matrix because somebody asked about it online saying, can you explain how the modulation matrix works? So let's dive in and look into how does it work. But first, what we need to understand when we talk about modulation matrix is what modulation is. Well, modulation is a part of a synthesizer where you actually use objects or function inside a synthesizer, parts of it, to control the movement in another part of the synthesizer. By default, there's sources and destination of modulation. So the movement you want to use and where you want to use it, and that's the modulation matrix. But to really be able to use it in a useful manner, you need to think about sound and how sound exists, work, how instruments usually make sounds, and that's why we have these different features on a synthesizer. So before we go into how the matrix on the Minifreak works, let's just go back to sound. Sound itself is a vibration. It vibrates to a certain speed and a different amplitude and with a different shape of vibration. So if it vibrates fast, it's going to be a high pitch. If it vibrates slow, it's going to be a slow pitch. So you're basically controlling the pitch by changing the speed of the vibration. Okay, for us, the note. If you have a vibration that is very loud, it means that it moves a lot. There's a big amplitude between the no sound and maximum sound. So the amplitude of the movement of the vibration is, for us, volume. The third value is the timbre. The timbre is basically the sound signature, the frequency content of the sound. It could be harmonics or enharmonics, or a combination of the both, depending on the type of sound you have or you recreate, whatever it is. Of course, instruments are made to play music. So let's say guitar, violin, piano, brass, all these instruments are being created so when you play them, they generate more harmonics than enharmonics because the harmonics, frequency-wise, are the one that for us appears as a note that we can follow. So if you want to play chords and melody and riffs that we can sing to or just follow, it has to be with more harmonics than enharmonics. Doesn't mean there's no enharmonics in them, but it means that there's more of them so that we can actually say, oh, that's a C, that's a A. So these frequencies are the root frequency. Actually, let's just look at what it is. I'm going to show you that. It's going to be easier to understand. If we take an A440, you see it here, it's an A440. So it means that sound is vibrating at 440 vibration per second. That's why we hear this. Our ears are vibrating at the same speed. That's how we perceive them. So if you look at the content, the harmonic content, this is a sawtooth, which is the richest possible source of sound you can have. It's very rich because there's only harmonics and nothing else, and all the harmonics are there. But as you go away from the fundamental, this one here, that's the A440. Next one is the double of it. So it's also an A, but 880, an octave higher. And then the one after that is 3 times the speed of the first one. So 1,200 hertz. Then the next one is, well, and then it's 4 times and 5 times. So they all go like that as at one point they just become very close and mixed together. So these are harmonics. Now, if you change the shape of it, or changing the shape, you see the harmonics change. Now it becomes higher because it feels that it's actually higher in pitch. It's faster. Let's say switch it and it becomes more like a square. You're seeing that follow this one here. This one, when it's a sawtooth, it's loud. So the second harmonic. And then when it goes to square, it disappears. So a square wave has only the odd harmonic. So the one that is twice the speed of the fundamental is not there. 3 times the speed of fundamental is there. So, and this is something as you play along, as you make sound, you're gonna go, if I hear that sound, it's obvious to me, and it will become obvious to you, that this is a square wave because it has a special sound that's kind of missing frequencies in it compared to this one has more, it's beefed up, has more frequencies in it. So now, how to use the different sources of modulation? Well, the basic sources of modulation, you have them on the side here. You've got envelopes, you got 2 of them here, you got LFOs, so these are there, and you've got a wheel modulation here, modulation wheel, and the keyboard. The keyboard, by default, it's always active because as you go up the keys, it actually controls the pitch. That's why it follows the keys as you go up, higher, lower in pitch. So you could deactivate that on some synthesizer and say it's going to be always the same key. In this case, I don't want that. I want to have this playing like this. But what else could be useful for following the keys? Well, one thing is interesting is, let's say we do a sound, some release, do something like, let's say I want to have something that is more muffled. Okay, but see, this one has still a couple of harmonics in it. When you look at this, you have a lot of harmonics still playing. As you go out the keys, there's less and less because the cutoff point of the filter is still at the same place. So as you go up the keys, it's still going to cut the same frequencies. It doesn't move. But what I want to have, like our normal, let's say, piano sound, as you go up the keys, the content, the frequency, the richness of it actually also go higher. So for this to follow with a subtractive synthesizer, a subtractive filter, you would need to have the filter also follow it. So it's not that complicated. We're going to move this. I'm going to go to keyboard line, and we're going to go to Timbre. And then there's 2 ways. Either you press on it and then you select, or you keep pressing on it and then you turn. And when you release, it should be gone. You see, I'm going to something else. So if you just press and turn, and then you continue moving it, you're moving to another place. So, but in my case, I'm just going to press it down once, and then I'm going to stay in that because I want to hear what I'm doing. Okay? I want this, actually I sent it to Timbre. My bad, wrong one. Send it to the cutoff point. Okay, cutoff point. Okay, so this one is opening the filter. This one, it doesn't open as much because the cutoff point that is here is following the movement or the value of the key you're playing on. As you go down the octave, it closes even more. If you go higher in the octave, it opens even higher. So it does follow it. That's an example. Another example would say, okay, you can have all of these destinations here that are already decided. I mean, you get the pitch, you get the wave one, so this value here, the wave one, timbre, cutoff, the cutoff. Most of the value we're sending are to control timbre because the pitch you already control by the keys, so you're playing the instrument. The volume, in this case, the ADSR is always assigned to the volume. I would like to have the option of saying the volume, the amplifier, could be controlled by the cycling envelope instead, and use the normal envelope, the ADSR, to assign it to the filter or something else. But right now, the fact that it's always assigned to the VCA, the amplifier, plus whatever else you assign. For me, it's kind of a limit, but still not that big of a deal because you can still use the cyclic envelope. So I'm going to do, let's say I want to have something like a piano. When you press, remember that when you play a piano, acoustically what's happening is that if you get a hammer that hits on a string, so the first part of the sound is richer, and then as the string plays and vibrates and loses energy gradually, it becomes duller and duller, or less harmonic content. It just disappears and it becomes more of just the root note playing. So what you do here, right now, I would like to have the cutoff that opens up and closes as the note plays. So what I'll do, I'm going to go here and I'm going to assign, get out of this, and then I'm going to go with envelope cycling and assign it to the cutoff, press on it and turn it up. So now, so the shape that I'm creating here is actually affecting the cutoff point. Now, one thing that is really important when you do this is to understand what's the lowest value and what's the highest value possible. So the movement of the filter, do you want it to go from zero, cutting everything, to opening up totally? Then you have to put the cutoff point at 0, because when you go back to hold, it's going to cut everything. And if you want it to open to the maximum, you need to push the depth here to 100. So really opens up to the maximum and bring that down. If I say the cutoff point would be halfway, so now the 0 value of the envelope is the cutoff point. It goes from that value and it goes up and comes down. I don't want it to go as high. Let's say I'm bringing the low value to this, but I don't want it to open up that much. I'm going to bring down the depth, the amount. So you get a little impact at the beginning, tok tok, and then it closes. You can have it faster. And it closes. So you decide how much you want it. And again, if you want it to be to stay richer at the sustain. Still keeps the key tracking for the cutoff, because it just adds up these two. Basic way of approaching it. Now, keep in mind that the synthesis, texture, and timbre feature of this one all really happens in these, the wave, the timbre, and the shape. But you can also assign it to different things. You can also say, my LFO is going to control my attack, or my attack is going to affect the LFO rate. It becomes really bizarre if you want to. Not the attack, but the envelope. So all of these sources could be assigned to any knob you have on screen. And to assign it to something specifically, like I would say, let's say I'm going to assign it to shape, okay? Shape here doesn't have a destination here. Okay, so I'm going to say, press assign, move shape. See, it says shape 1. And then I'm going to assign LFO 1. And wait a second, I'm going to LFO 1 to assign. And then so now it's this value that changes. If you want to move fast between these, of course you can just click on it and move like this. But if you say I'm at the right place, I'm at the assigning, but I want to assign, let's say, the other LFO, you can press Shift and just move in the column instead of being in a line. And if you want to change something without getting into it, like, so you can just press and turn and then leave it, then you can still move around. So different way of working with it. Either you press, you stay in, or you press and turn while keep pressing on it. So you're not entering the mode. Now, if you move this knob, you're going back to switching between destinations. So different ways to navigate, and shift, go up and down, without shift, left and right. Pretty cool. Okay, now the other approach would be to say, let's try something else. We could add effects. Okay, I'm going to show you something. Keyboard to envelope. So in this case, very slow envelope attack. So the attack is slow. The rest is the same. So I'm going to play middle. So faster. The attack here is controlled by the keyboard itself. So if we go in this one here, I go with this one, it says it's keyboard to rise. Actually, it's this one, keyboard to rise. As you go up the keys, the rising here changes. So slow, fast. So it just shows you how you can actually use it. Another one, keyboard to timbre. Now the keyboard keys are sent to timbre. So more frequencies as you play higher keys. So the harmonics of the timbre changes as you go out of the keys. So another example. The other one I want to show you is mod to effect. Now this one's weird. But now I've got a little sequence playing, and I've got two LFO playing, and one that is especially interesting is, like, you see that there's pages here. So I'm on page in 1. It's the 1 is there for the page. So the 3 assignment here. If I press shift and press 2, I've got 2 assigned here. So these 2 are assigned from the LFO 1, and they're assigned to, if I press on it, amount 3. So it's the amount of effects. And I press the other one is amount 2 is the effects also. So effects 2 is a delay. Effects 3 is a reverb. So what I have here, if I bring the reverb and delay to 0, everybody to 0, it's only when I press this and that the LFO So a certain moment you've got LFO coming in to push the, if you look at the LFO here, you got LFO 1. And LFO 1 is sent, if you go here, actually, if you look at this one, LFO 1 is minus 100 to the 3, which is the delay, if I'm not mistaken. No, the reverb. And it's plus 100 on the delay. So it means that the movement plus 100 will take the value of the knob and go up, whereas in the other way it's going to go down. So it's going to take the one that goes to 0 is 3. So if I put the 3 at maximum, now I should be there's a moment that you have reverb, and then it goes away, and you have delay, and then it goes away and you get reverb. But there's a lot there's too much stuff happening right now. And that's the problem with modulation like this. As you put more stuff, at one point it just becomes massively bizarre and just like difficult to listen to. Let's take another example that is a little bit more softer. Okay. We have a little sequence playing, always the same thing. And by default, it's a, let's say I'm going to turn that off. So that's the sound. Okay, what's happening right now? We have a very simple sound. Let's say we bring the volume down for all of these effects. What we have. Simple, just like a little electric piano, let's say. But what you have is this thing. You have this kind of volume. You have a delay. And you have a filter opening up. So what's happening here is that what I did is that I took this one is the amount of 2, and this one the amount of the time 1. So the time of 2, the amount of 1. You have another one? And the intensity of 3. And all of these, they're controlled by either LFO2 or LFO1. And they don't have the same speed. So LFO1, if you look at the rate here, sorry, LFO1 is running as half a beat, whereas LFO2 is running as a 2 beat. That's for the delay. Then it disappears. Now you just have the intensity going up. So yeah. So that's LFO2. LFO1 is so 2 different speed, and it creates that movement in the sound. If you take rid of the pattern, it's just a bizarre sound. But when you play it in a sequence or even an arpeggiator, it has some logic to use this. So that's it. This is how you can play with modulation, use it correctly. This matrix is fun because it's at one place, and the fact that you have 9 assignable destination for whatever you want makes it so open to really create weird stuff. If you have a type of sound you want me to recreate, put them below. I'll try to make these sounds and show you how to achieve something in that sense. That's it. Hope it's useful. Have fun. Play with your synthesizer. Use these modulation. Save often. When you like your sound, you can go back to that. Make more music. See you soon. Cheers.